Good morning, everyone. Today we will start with some international news and then we will look at the coronavirus because that's big news in Canada as well as the whole world. And then we'll finish off with some Canadian politics news. Because why not? Why not Canadian politics news? Let's talk about that a little too. Okay, here we go. So France 24 is reporting, open the gates, migrants chant at Turkey-Greece border. Now, I watched this video. I actually didn't see this scene in the video. Like, there wasn't a moving, I was going to show you this moving scene, but I didn't see that scene in the video. It was more of an interview. So maybe I missed it. I did watch it quick. But interesting that the border is being continually attacked now that they've closed it and used military to reinforce that closure. I mean, they're trying to get, like, the migrants are trying to get around it by using dinghies now. Like, it's a really interesting situation and could be, well, could be a factor. Who knows? It's very interesting. Here is moving into the coronavirus. Channel 4 News, this is the most frightening disease I've ever encountered in my career. Richard Hatchett, the doctor leading the efforts to find a vaccine for coronavirus, says it's much more lethal than the normal flu. Okay, so just in case you've run into somebody who says it's just a flu, man, well, here's this guy. And I watched this whole interview, and it's worthwhile. It's a 10 or 12 minute interview. They edited it, though. There's a lot of editing, in, excuse me, in that video. But this is worth watching here. Here we go.
This is the most frightening disease I've ever encountered in my career, and that includes Ebola, it includes MERS, it includes SARS. And it's frightening because of the combination of infectiousness and a lethality that appears to be many-fold higher than flu.
From what scientists know about this virus so far, what concerns you most about it?
I think the most concerning thing about this virus is the combination of infectiousness and the ability to cause severe disease or death.
Yeah, that's pretty frightening. That's sufficiently frightening. Thank you very much. Okay, here's the Ontario numbers. And why am I mean, this is updated yesterday. This is Friday. They only update weekdays at 10:30 a.m. So no updates on the weekend, just Monday to Friday. Because, you don't need to know the numbers on the weekend. Go out and have fun, right? Yeah. Right, of course. So the numbers sit at under investigation 72, confirmed positive 24, resolved 4. I wonder if they're going to add a death line. I think I made a bet, an over under or something like that. If they add a death line, yes or no, $10. But I don't think they're going to add a death line. I think everybody just goes into resolved. I mean, you're dead? Yeah, that's resolved. That's resolved. No problems, right? Boom. Put it in the resolved category. You're alive? Wonderful. Great. Oh, you're no longer alive? Still resolved. So you don't even have to change the stats, right? It solves all the problems. It's genius, really. Resolved. Resolved. It's incredible. So, but I wanted to show you this because 22, okay? 3 weeks ago, and it's 3 weeks yesterday, Italy reports 17 total COVID cases as a cluster quadruples in one day. This was big news. It quadrupled. That's February 21st, 2020. Okay? 17 cases in Italy. And I just want to show you the timeline. 21st. Okay? And we're at the 6th. So there it is. That's 3 weeks later. 21st to the 25th. I'll show you. So here's the 21st article. Here's the 25th article. COVID-19, 10 dead in Italy as number of virus cases rises 45%. The number of people in Italy infected with the new virus from China increased 45% in the last day, and the number of deaths grew to 10, civil protection officials said Tuesday. Officials reported 322 confirmed cases of the virus, 100 more than a day earlier. They say that some of the new cases showed up in parts of Italy well outside the country's 2 hard-hit northern regions, including 3 in Sicily, 2 in Tuscany, and 1 in Liguria. Sorry if I've got any of those wrong. As cases continue growing at a worrisome rate, evidence emerged that the virus was spreading from its epicenter in Europe to other countries with vacationing Italians and Europeans who visited the afflicted northern regions. I scroll down a little bit. Italy has closed schools, museums, and theaters in the 2 regions where clusters have formed, and troops are enforcing quarantines around 10 towns in Lombardy and the epicenter of the Vino cluster. I can't say that one. Voengio? Sorry, I forgot that one. But Italy hasn't yet identified the source of the outbreak, and overnight reported a 27% increase in positive cases from 222 to 283, including in regions outside the north. 7 people have died, all of them elderly suffering from other ailments or both. other ailments and coronavirus. So there's more to this story. Link is in the description if you want to read it, but it's going back in time. As I said, that was 4 days after 17 cases. And then this is yesterday, or 2 days ago, updated 2 days ago. Italian education institutions closed as COVID-19 deaths pass 100 as it happened. And this is just a little as it happened blog, like things are regular updates. Here's COVID-19 Italy death toll soars to 197. Italy's coronavirus cases up to 3,916. I hope I'm wrong, but that is 17 cases to 3,000 cases in 3 weeks. That's very, very, very virulent. Excuse me if I've got that wrong. Sometimes I do. And wow, 3 weeks is no time at all. And we're sitting in Ontario alone, never mind the rest of Canada. I mean, BC's got their own cases as well. I think they're at 20. I could be wrong. Could be 10, maybe 8. I'm not going to check. But BC has their own cluster going. Ontario has its own cluster going. And why are we special? I don't understand why anybody would think that we won't be afflicted the same way Italy or South Korea or Singapore, right? Singapore's got things a little bit under control from what I've heard. They're not a big hotspot. So, I mean, it is possible to contain this. They had a big outbreak and it seems they've got things under control, at least a little bit anyway, not headline news. But I mean, that could be because there are so many countries that are, I mean, Japan isn't headline news either. And I don't necessarily think they have this under control. So it's interesting, right? I hope the timeline in Italy is somehow accelerated. I hope that what Canada is doing is actually working, if Canada is actually doing anything other than a quick survey. But man, that seems like very, very quick spread for a disease that was known about, right? Like it's not like nobody's washing their hands. It's not like hand sanitizer isn't sold out everywhere, right? Like it doesn't make any sense that doctors are getting this. Doctors are cautious. They know how dangerous this is. So if doctors are getting it and dying, well, I mean, that speaks to how contagious this is, right? How easily you can get this. It just bears being aware of. It bears knowing, okay? Okay, here's global news. Getting into the Canadian politics because, I mean, we're dominated by the coronavirus right now, but, I mean, politics goes on and, well, Roy Green is asking, is Canada a nation or a notion? Notion, currently. Justin Trudeau's notion of what a nation should be. Anyway, moving on. It was 2 days before Christmas 2018 when New Brunswick Premier Blaine Higgs, in a live interview with Roy, Mr. Green, spoke of the need to determine if Canada is a nation or a notion. More than 1 year, one Alberta and one federal election later, the question not only lingers but has increased in scope and significance. At the time of the interview with Premier Higgs, he had just attended his first national premiers meeting. The Energy East pipeline project was still of sufficient national interest at the time, at that time, that its need and possible feasibility entered the conversation. So did equalization formula and Quebec's growing entitlement to receiving increasing billions of annualized equalization dollars, while simultaneously that province through its premier, François Legault, bluntly shuttered all talk of any new Quebec crossing pipeline construction linking the Alberta oil sands with refineries in New Brunswick. Now, I wanted to point out, I often talk about how we spend $300 million on Saudi oil. Here's a citation for that. National Post, and this is December of 2018, August 2018. But this is a news piece saying, why has Canada spent billions of dollars buying Saudi Arabian oil? Despite sitting on an ocean of oil, Canada still buys $300 million per month of Saudi crude. And that crude is refined in New Brunswick refineries. And if we built a pipeline and had Alberta oil feeding Eastern Canada through a pipeline in Quebec, because you don't want to ship it via rail, right? Lac-Mégantic Tech, all of the derailments across Ontario recently and BC. I mean, you don't want to ship oil by rail. It's very, very dangerous, right? But I mean, that's our only option until we get some pipelines built. But if we could build a pipeline across the country from Alberta to Nova Scotia and to the east to New Brunswick, then we could supply ourselves with oil rather than spending $300 million per month. We could have jobs that were helping Canadian families and Canadian companies and Canadian jobs just across the country. I don't understand the hesitation about this. And the French premier, the Quebec premier, the arrogance with which he can say, no pipelines and cite global warming. I mean, who does he work for, right? Like which NGO exactly? It's very, very concerning. So I think that it's really, really weird that there aren't more Canadians who are up in arms about buying foreign oil to feed Eastern Canada when we have a viable plan that could be put in place at any time. I mean, it'll take a year or two to get the pipeline done, but it wouldn't take all that long, and it would create lots of jobs. And then once the pipeline's done, even more jobs. Get the oil out there, right? And then maybe we could build more refineries. Maybe there could be a plan to be self-sufficient on oil. Is that a bad word in Canada? I mean, I know Justin Trudeau is trying to shut down the Alberta oil fields, but it's not like the oil's not getting used. It's not like we're not buying a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia consistently, right? So, yay, let's spend it on oil that comes from a place with half the environmental standards that we've got. If even that, it doesn't make sense. It's insane. It doesn't make sense to me anyway. I mean, maybe it does make sense. Maybe there's like some formula where it's a really good idea to extract Saudi oil, put it on a tanker ship, use all the CO2 that the tanker ship uses to get to New Brunswick to unload the oil. Maybe there's some kind of crazy formula that works, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Back to the article. Much has changed. Next week, as the nation's premiers meet with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney will raise the need for change to the current equalization formula and demand that federal government support instead of impede development of the energy sector in his province. Trudeau dragged his heels on delivering federal support for the $20 billion plus Tech Frontier oil sands mine in Alberta, causing the company to walk away after spending more than $1 billion to meet environmental assessment and regulatory requirements, as well as garnering support from all First Nations directly to be affected. Trudeau's distaste for the oil sands is clear and was spoken to directly by the Prime Minister in a town hall meeting televised nationally. And there's a link to the town hall that they're referring to with him doing that. Yet China, the world's greatest emitter of climate impacting pollution, forges onward, building massive new coal-powered energy plants. How does the Trudeau government respond? By challenging Beijing vigorously? No, not so much. Instead, Ottawa greenlights China National Offshore Oil Corp, CNOOC, exploration in the waters of Newfoundland and Labrador coast. Yay! They get to, again, a missed opportunity, right? The government of Newfoundland and Labrador is welcoming the development, and why wouldn't it? The provincial natural resources minister said this means jobs created for the people of our province and growth in our oil and gas industry. Alberta's oil sands, though, retain Ottawa's pariah designation as jobs, and billions upon billions of dollars are lost, not only to Alberta's treasury, but also to all of Canada and our complex and expensive social infrastructure. I scroll down. There will be much to challenge the premiers and Prime Minister at their meeting. Trudeau will be lobbied to remove his government's imposed carbon tax until the Supreme Court of Canada decides whether Ottawa has the constitutional power to so decide. Kenney will have the Alberta Court of Appeal on his side, as the court just days ago decided the federal government overstepped with its carbon tax imposition. Add to the above that for decades, provincial trade barriers impeded national economic cooperation and growth. Is Canada a nation or a notion? And yeah, it's a good question. One that bears reasoning, one that bears answering, one that bears talking about anyway. I mean, when you can't even secure your rail lines, when nobody's investigating the derailments and the consistent, is anybody even investigating the fire that happened at the CN buildings? I don't know. And that's a problem, right? Rule of law means that the law is applied equally. And I mean, well, you know that meme where the guy's thinking, right? Well, can't have an investigation if there's no charges laid, right? Thinking guy. So it's frustrating. And it's, you know. So there we are, nation or notion. Reason it out. I don't know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out the CanadaReport.co. Wash your hands and have a wonderful, wonderful day.